Hey everybody, welcome back to the Court of Random Opinion. My name is Lauren Neidigh. We had another docket update today, so I wanted to go ahead and go over that with you guys. This isn't going to be too long of a review. The actual document, the docket is very short, but I'm going to explain to you why it's important and what the context is. Let's see. First up, okay. So you can see here that a summons in a civil action. Blake Lively has requested for this to be. Hang on one second. I don't know if you guys heard that. So she's requested an issue of the summons to Jed Wallace and his crisis PR firm, Street Relations Incorporated. I think it is. I know it's Street, but okay. So the actual document says a lawsuit has been filed against you. Within 21 days after service of this summons on you, you must serve on the plaintiff an answer to the attached complaint or a motion under Rule 12 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure. The answer or motion must be served on the plaintiff or plaintiff's attorney, whose names and address are, and then it names Blake's lawyer there. Okay, so the reason that this is significant is when I went over the amended complaint the other night at midnight when it came out, in my fury of excitement and exhaustion and swearing, I actually skipped over the part of the section where it was defining the parties. So let's pull this up here. Hang on. You can see now that in the parties, she has added Jed Wallace and Defendant Street Relations, Inc. Let me see if that's good. Can you guys read that? I hope you can. We'll zoom in a little bit. Okay. Defendant Jed Wallace is a president, director, and secretary of Street Relations, Inc., formerly known as Street Relations, LLC. Mr. Wallace is an individual who resides in Dripping Springs, Texas. Dripping Springs, Texas. That's a... All right. And who has described himself as a self-employed PR consultant who offers crisis mitigation services. Defendant Street Relations Incorporated is a company that describes itself as a crisis mitigation firm engaged, I guess, by clients to help navigate real-life human crisis, threats, trauma, and mental health concerns. Street Relations is incorporated in the state of California with a principal place of business in Texas. Okay. Now, them naming Wallace and Street Relations, Inc. is kind of interesting in relation to the lawsuit that Jed Wallace filed in Texas against Blake Lively, so I'll show you that here. And this, hang on, I'll come back down to this in a second. This is a complaint for declaratory judgment and defamation. Now, one of the main kind of points they made here was number 9. And let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can read in case you want to do that. Wallace and Street were widely reported to be defendants in the formal lawsuit, see Exhibit 4, although they were not, the confusion having been sown by the precursor. As Lively later admitted, she knew of no facts to support the allegations against Wallace or Street. Indeed, having been the one harassed, she knew the exact opposite. Neither Wallace nor Street had anything to do with the alleged sexual harassment, retaliation, failure to investigate, or aiding and abetting the alleged harassment or alleged retaliation. Neither could they have breached a contract with Lively because no such contract exists. And they were not involved in any of the events depicted in either the precursor, where they were named as defendants, or the formal lawsuit, where they were not named, which could give rise to a duty towards defendant negligence, or any other tortious conduct, false light, intentional infliction of emotional distress, or interference with prospective economic advantage. So, like I said, it's important here to note that they had written this section about how they were not actually named in the lawsuit, even though it was widely reported that they had been. And now in her amended complaint, they are named in the lawsuit. Okay, let me pull this down. And I got one more thing we'll share here. This is the petition for Rule 202 deposition that Blake Lively had filed to get Jed Wallace involved. So I did just want to go through this. I've never read the whole document on the stream before, so we'll look at what she had to say about Jed Wallace and why she wanted to depose him. And then we'll see what we can learn from that. Hang on. I have a feeling they're going to call Taylor. Man, I have no idea. Meg the Rockhound, hey, how's it going? Okay. Blake Lively's verified petition for Rule 202 deposition. Petitioner Blake Lively requests an order authorized under Texas Rule of Civil Procedure 202 to take a pre-suit deposition of Jed Wallace, for which petitioner respectfully shows as follows. factual background. A, the respondent, Jed Wallace. Jed Wallace is an independent contractor based in Dripping Springs, Texas. On information and belief, Mr. Wallace has described himself as a hired gun and claimed a proprietary formula for defining artisan trends. On information and belief, Mr. Wallace specializes in executing confidential and untraceable campaigns across various social media platforms, including TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, and X, to shape public perception of his clients and their adversaries and to perpetuate those perceptions by, among other things, creating social media accounts with inauthentic users, like the bacon bots. If you don't know what a bacon bot is, I'm sure someone in the chat can tell you. On information and belief, Mr. Wallace's clients have included a number of prominent companies and individuals. B, the film and negative sentiment against Ms. Lively. Ms. Lively co-starred in the 2024 hit film It Ends With Us, directed by Justin Baldoni, nice that we're recognizing that, who co-starred in the film and produced by Mr. Baldoni's production studio, Wayfarer Studios. Leading up to and through the production of the film, which began on or about May 18th, Ms. Lively and others on set were subjected to a pattern of unprofessional and sexually harassing behavior by Mr. Baldoni and Jamie Heath, Wayfarer's chief executive officer. Though numerous human resources complaints were raised regarding Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath's behavior, Wayfarer failed to conduct an investigation or to otherwise adequately address concerns or voluntarily implement protections for Ms. Lively or other cast and crew on set. At the conclusion of the guild strikes that had disrupted production, Ms. Lively negotiated a contract writer, ensuring certain on-set and external protections for herself and the rest of the cast and crew prior to returning to set. The writer included a provision prohibiting retaliation of any kind against Ms. Lively. The writer specifically prohibited any disparagement, marginalization, or other negative behavior, either on set or otherwise, including post-production. Filming resumed in January 2024 and production wrapped in the following month. Starting on the day the film was released in August 2024, Ms. Lively suddenly became the focus of vitriol and negative commentary on social media and in the press. Ms. Lively later learned that the negative public sentiment that was suddenly unleashed against her was the direct and intended result of an intentionally seeded social media or social manipulation, social media mitigation, social combat, and public relations scheme that was planned, implemented, and funded by Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, Mr. Steve Sarowitz, and Wayfarer as unlawful retaliation against Ms. Lively for raising concerns about harassing conduct on set and in violation of multiple contractual agreements, including the writer's non-disparagement provision. See the retaliation campaign. On July 31st, 2024, following the recommendation of their publicist, Jennifer Abel, Wayfarer and Mr. Baldoni retained a crisis communications specialist named Melissa Nathan in her company TAG. Ms. Nathan delivered a proposal to Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath to develop a social media communications plan, which included a website to discuss, full Reddit, full social account takedowns, full social crisis team on hand for anything, engage with audiences in the right way, start threads of theories. This is the way to be fully 100% protected. Ms. Nathan also proposed the creation of social fan engagement to go back and forth with any negative accounts, helping to change the narrative and stay on track. Per Ms. Nathan, all of this will be most importantly untraceable. As Ms. Abel described it, the plan was to engage in social media mitigation and proactive fan posting to counter the negative as well as social manipulation. So a lot of this was in her amended complaint, so I won't read word for word on all of this, but in the weeks and months that followed, with the direction and approval of Wayfarer, Mr. Heath, and Mr. Baldoni, the team engaged in sophisticated, coordinated, and well-financed retaliation plan. The retaliation campaign relied on more than just publicists and crisis managers spinning stories. They also retained subcontractors, including Mr. Wallace, who weaponized the digital army around the country, including New York and Los Angeles, to create, seed, manipulate, and advance disparaging content that appeared to be authentic on social media platforms and internet chat forums. The Baldoni Wayfarer team would then feed pieces of this manufactured content to unwitting reporters, making content go viral in order to influence public opinion. Now, that is the subject of a lot of criticism that you see people getting in the comments. They'll come and be like, how much are you being paid by Justin and stuff like that. So, all right. Hey, Sheeps, how's it going? Hey, everybody. All right. On information and belief, TAG engaged Mr. Wallace to assist them in their unlawful retaliatory social combat campaign on behalf of Wayfarer and Mr. Baldoni. On information and belief, in the lead up to the film's premiere and in the weeks that followed, Mr. Wallace worked remotely from Dripping Springs, Texas. I'm never going to get used to saying Dripping Springs. At the direction of Ms. Nathan Tagg and Ms. Abel on behalf of Wayfarer and Mr. Baldoni to undermine the credibility of and retaliate against Ms. Lively through this social media campaign, manipulation campaign, sorry. For instance, on August 7th, Ms. Abel inquired about the cost of social media mitigation and proactive fan posting to counter the negative press surrounding Mr. Baldoni and whether what she had discussed with Ms. Nathan earlier regarding social manipulation from the separate team based in Hawaii was included in that fee. On information and belief, the referenced team based in Hawaii worked with Mr. Wallace and or at his discretion. On August 9th, the day the film premiered, Ms. Abel and Ms. Nathan flagged social media accounts questioning Mr. Baldoni's conduct on the set of the film to Mr. Wallace, directing Mr. Wallace to take serious action on the social side in response. Later that same day, Mr. Wallace conveyed to Ms. Nathan that we are crushing it on Reddit with respect to their efforts on behalf of Wayfarer, Mr. Baldoni, and Mr. Heath. On August 10th, Ms. Nathan acknowledged that socials are really, really ramping up. Ms. Nathan credited the change largely to Jed and his team's effort to shift the narrative towards shining a spotlight on Blake and Ryan instead of Mr. Baldoni. They included her text here that says, "Hi team, so far extremely limited pickup on Daily Mailer page 6. We'll continue to keep an eye out and send pieces as needed, but so far it's been steady coverage on pure speculation. We've also started to see a shift on social, due largely to Jed and his team's effort to shift the narrative towards shining a spotlight on Blake and Ryan. Again, we'll continue to send links and screenshots, but wanted to send an update in the meantime." Now, obviously, I'm not looking at the whole text thread, guys, but shining a spotlight on Blake and Ryan, that doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing, does it? I mean, it's just like taking the heat off of Justin for whatever rumors, and it could just be like getting more press relating to Blake and Ryan. I don't know. It could also very well mean, negative attention towards Blake and Ryan. I'm just saying there's kind of some ambiguity there, but if I look at it in context, I might have a different outlook. In the days that followed, Ms. Nathan and Ms. Abel discussed a specific social media post for Mr. Wallace and his team to amplify or boost. For instance, on August 10th, Ms. Abel sent a TikTok post of Mr. Baldoni and Ms. Lively appearing to laugh together and wrote, "Would be great for the digital team to boost this in any way possible." Well, don't they want that for it to appear like the cast of their movies getting along? A TikTok of them appearing to laugh together. I mean, that's good press, right, for the movie? A few days later, on August 14th, Ms. Abel stated, "I'll have our digital side boost this TikTok in the AM." And the reference TikTok, an individual who Ms. Lively has never met, responds to social media that Mr. Baldoni made Ms. Lively uncomfortable and sad, calling it all nonsense. So the issue they have with that is that they're basically just saying Justin didn't do anything bad. They're not saying anything wrong about Blake. They're just saying that Justin didn't do anything bad. Is that really malicious? I mean, like I said earlier, PR, like a crisis PR person, if you need help with your own like crisis or image issues that are going on, like it doesn't necessarily have to be like an attack thing. You might just be trying to like navigate your own struggle with what's going on with rumors in the press and stuff like that. Okay. All right. That's kind of an interesting. MB Shotzi, thank you for the 149 super sticker. Oh, and thank you for the $3 super sticker. You're awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay. Let's see. On August 18th, Mr. Baldoni circulated a TikTok video in which the poster repeated a misleading narrative that Ms. Lively did not speak about domestic violence in any press interviews. A member of Ms. Nathan's team responded that she would let digital know. Okay, but what? When did he circulate a TikTok video where someone said that? People were already like upset about that, and I kept reading against my will. I kept seeing this stuff on social media, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of like a bad strategy for PR, I guess, but I didn't read the book. I actually wasn't intending to watch the movie at the time, so I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. I'm sure this is something that'll blow over. But I kept reading about this drama in like Reddit and Twitter and wherever else. So yeah, that's really strange. I don't know. So far, when I'm reading this, I'm thinking none of this seems to be like an attack strategy. I don't know. Uh, a member of Miss Nathan's team responded that she would let Digital know. Okay. Am I missing something here? I mean, it's totally possible that I am, but so far, I'm not impressed. Ms. Nathan and Ms. Abel also discussed working with Mr. Wallace and his digital team to suppress certain narratives and posts on social media. For example, the same day, Ms. Abel flagged a tag that this girl is claiming that Mr. Baldoni invited her up to his hotel room years ago, to which the tag team replied, "Let us chat to Jed on this." Again, what? If that's like something that is like a rumor that's being spread and it's not true, wouldn't you want your crisis PR person to suppress that narrative? I mean, again, what does this actually even have to do with Blake? This girl is claiming that Justin invited her up to his hotel room years ago. What does that have to do with Blake? Am I just confused? Like, what is actually happening right now? What's that, guys? Hey, everyone, I'm here, still alive, and I'm about to make it everyone's problem. Okay. Okay. Michelle says, I believe Dingus is available for PR, and if you're new to the channel, which is pretty much everybody, maybe someday you'll learn what that means, and it is a total pleasure and a pain in the ass. All right. Let's see. On information and belief, Mr. Wallace was in regular contact with not only Miss Nathan, but also other executives of Wayfarer. For example, on August 18th, Miss Nathan texted Miss Abel that, as opposed to using bots, the other team is doing something very specific in terms of what they do. I know Jamie and Jed connected on this. Okay. What's the context? What's the context? That could literally mean anything to me. Like, Ms. Lively files complaint in New York federal court. On December 31st, she filed the complaint in New York. Okay, so I'm not going to read that word for word. The retaliation complaint reflects causes of action for sexual harassment, retaliation, and related claims. The defendants in that case include Wayfarer, Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, Mr. Sarowitz, and then we all know that by now. The retaliation defendants are represented by Brian Friedman, an entertainment lawyer and co-founder of Liner Friedman, Tadelman, and Cooley LLP. God, that is a long name. I hope I pronounced them all right. Who also serves as counsel for Mr. Wallace and Street relations in litigation. Okay. Mr. Friedman was brought in by the retaliation defendants. Retaliation defendants. That's going to be the name of a band now. During their strategic manipulation smear of Ms. Lively in August 2024, and he since has served as a central figure in their active media campaign, speaking publicly and negatively on numerous occasions regarding Ms. Lively and her allegations, and issuing repeated threats to sue. Well, they dropped that whole complaint on them and said a bunch of stuff that this side is saying is not true. So of course they're, speaking publicly about it, and anything that they say and like against the complaint that was filed that they allege is false, like of course it's going to sound negative to them. I just don't understand. Like, what do you expect? That you can just like, this is like Regina George behavior, like when she spread the burn book all over the high school and then acted like she was a victim. I mean, what? Okay. Mr. Wallace and his attorney, Mr. Friedman, also have a close personal relationship, emphasizing the unmistakable connection among Mr. Wallace, Mr. Friedman, and the retaliation defendants. In an August 13th, 2024 text, Ms. Nathan inquired about whether she should create a signal thread between herself, Ms. Abel, and Mr. Wallace, in case you need to connect you two because they're very close. Okay. Mr. Wallace was not named as a defendant in the Lively complaint. Petitioner now seeks an order from this court authorizing the taking of a deposition to investigate petitioner's potential claims against him. All right. Despite evidence acknowledging that Mr. Wallace and others conducted an extensive and largely successful campaign to disparage, retaliate against, and damage petitioner, Mr. Friedman now claims that no digital manipulation campaign was carried out. He further has threatened to file suit against anyone who pursues a lawsuit against his clients, including Mr. Wallace, based on such allegations. Okay, there's a footnote here. See, James Hibbard, Justin Baldoni's publicist breaks silence. Okay, so they're just citing media articles that to this effect. Where are we at? Okay. Well, okay, first of all, just stopping right here for a second. Threatening to file a lawsuit against anyone who pursues lawsuit against his clients. Well, is it that they pursued a lawsuit against his clients, or is it that they are allegedly like slandering him and defaming him and saying all these horrible things about sexual harassment that they're saying are not true? I mean, that's the way they're characterizing that. To me, it just seems like an intentional miss. Like they're just trying to make it sound like he's being combative for no reason. Okay. Accordingly, a Rule 202 deposition would serve the interest of justice by allowing petitioner to investigate the scope of Mr. Wallace's conduct, as described herein, and to reduce the risk of inviting frivolous lawsuits by Mr. Friedman. Okay. So they're saying the lawsuits are what? They're going to be frivolous? That is interesting. Teresa Lecter says, what is the Jed they talk about? What if the Jed they talk about is not that Jed? I'm sure there are a lot more other Jeds out there. I mean, technically, there's enough chance that could be true. But I'm pretty sure they're talking about that Jed, Let's see. The evidence room. Hi. Exactly. They are trying to frame it like he's a vexatious litigant. Yep. And original followers of this channel know all about vexatious litigation, believe me. So I'm here for the tea. Slurp, slurp. Cool. All right. Parties and deponents. Blake Lively is an individual domiciled and residing in New York, New York. Petitioner can be served with pleadings and other papers in this proceeding through her counsel of record. Jed Wallace is an individual domiciled and residing in my new favorite place, Dripping Springs, Texas. Mr. Wallace may be served wherever he or she may be found. Jurisdiction and venue. This court has personal jurisdiction over Mr. Wallace because he is domiciled in Dripping Springs, Texas, which is within Hays County, Texas. So the interesting thing, if you remember, I went over the whole Jed Wallace complaint, the lawsuit complaint, and then when in response to this, like when he sued her after she tried to depose him or get this thing for the deposition, they were saying that basically he falls under the jurisdiction of the court in New York. And then they pointed back to this document and said, well, she admitted herself that the Texas court has personal jurisdiction over Mr. Wallace. So, yeah. All right, let's see. This court has jurisdiction over this matter because a substantial part of the events giving rise to the claims that petitioner seeks to investigate, specifically Mr. Wallace's work on the social manipulation campaign, occurred in Hays County and are thus within the jurisdictional limits of this court. Venue is proper in Hays County pursuant to Texas Civil Practice and Remedies Code. And I'm not going to, because a substantial part of the underlying events that would give rise to the claims being investigated occurred in Hays County, and Mr. Wallace resides in Hays County. Hey, Equality, how's it going? I'm too sober for Blake's crap to make sense. Hey, me too, man. Me too. But what can I do? I'm actually recovering alcoholic. So it's been a headache. All right. Nature of potential claims and requests to depose. Bear with me 1 second here, guys. I had texted a couple lawyer friends to see if they could come on, and I don't know if they're going to be able to, but let me just see what they said really quick. Okay, one of them can't. So I'll probably see if I could have one of them on this weekend. Just to go through some of this some more and give like an actual lawyer perspective. But yeah. 1 second here. Okay. Nature of potential claims and request to depose. A petitioner seeks to investigate potential claims against respondent. 37. Petitioner brings this action for a discrete and specific purpose to investigate the nature and scope of Mr. Wallace's work implementing the social manipulation campaign engineered by Wayfarer, Mr. Sarowitz, Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, and their multiple public relations teams working to disparage petitioner. Petitioner requires this information in order to better understand the manner in which the unlawful conduct, including retaliation, was carried out. Based on the facts set forth above, which include a contractual rider that prevented any retaliation of any kind, including disparagement against petitioner, 2, the breach of that rider by employees and agents of Wayfarer through a surreptitious social media and press campaign. 3, the acknowledgement by Wayfarer's employees and agents that Mr. Wallace assisted in breaching the rider and orchestrating a widespread campaign to damage petitioner's reputation. And 4, that Mr. Wallace's efforts had in fact succeeded in shifting the narrative towards shining a spotlight on Blake and Ryan and damaging petitioner's reputation. Petitioner seeks to investigate potential tortious claims against Mr. Wallace, including but not limited to 1, tortious interference with contract, including non-disparagement provision, and 2, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Petitioner requires additional information to determine whether she may pursue those claims and any additional potential claims against Mr. Wallace. The benefit of petitioner's pre-suit discovery outweighs the burden or expense. Rule 202 permits a party to investigate potential claims via pre-suit depositions. Rule 202 functions in aid of a suit which is anticipated and ancillary to the anticipated suit. Depositions under Rule 202 are governed by the rules applicable to depositions of non-parties in a pending suit. Okay. Number 40. Petitioner seeks Mr. Wallace's deposition for the precise reasons contemplated by Rule 202 to understand and evaluate potential claims. Specifically, petitioner seeks an oral deposition of Mr. Wallace to investigate evidence of the scope, extent, and substance of Mr. Wallace's work undertaken at the direction of Ms. Nathan and/or Tag or others on behalf of Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, Mr. Sarowitz, and Wayfarer, including with respect to conduct performed on social media platforms, including Instagram, Reddit, and TikTok, and across digital platforms. So is it fine if it's on Blue Sky? Just wondering. Specifically, petitioner seeks testimony regarding Mr. Wallace's awareness of the rider that petitioner entered into with Wayfarer, including the provision that prohibited any disparagement or other negative behavior aimed at petitioner in retaliation for petitioner exercising her legally protected right to speak up about the misconduct of Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, and Wayfarer. Petitioner additionally seeks testimony from Mr. Wallace regarding his knowledge of the underlying purpose of the work performed in connection with this engagement, particularly regarding the conduct by respondent and any agents to manipulate social media sites, the tabloid media, and other coverage in favor of Mr. Baldoni and against petitioner, to retaliate against and disparage petitioner, and to undermine and breach petitioner's contracts with Wayfarer and It Ends With Us Movie LLC. Fletcher Boy, thank you for the $10. Lauren, alternative channel lifestyles of the rich but not smart. Thank you for the 10. Stacy, is it Eilertson? Thank you for the $1 super sticker. I appreciate that. Okay. Petitioner also seeks information regarding the nature and breadth of Mr. Wallace's work to disparage petitioner in order to better understand the totality of his efforts and to evaluate the damage to petitioner from his actions. A court must order a requested Rule 202 deposition if it finds that the likely benefit of allowing the petitioner to investigate a potential claim by taking the deposition outweighs the burden or expense of the procedure. Because petitioner seeks only this limited testimony from Mr. Wallace, the benefit of allowing petitioner to take the requested deposition outweighs any associated burden or expense to Mr. Wallace. Specifically, the burden or expense of allowing the requested Rule 202 deposition to take place is low, as petitioner's counsel will work with the counsel for Mr. Wallace to schedule the depositions at a mutually convenient time and place. In addition, petitioner will conduct the requested Rule 202 deposition within the time limitations of Texas Rules of Civil Procedure 199.5. The likely benefit for petitioner and the justice system is substantial. First, petitioner's investigation of the potential claims will ensure that any suit filed by petitioner is supported by competent witness testimony and evidence. Here, the limited Rule 202 deposition petitioner proposes is the most efficient method for petitioner to discover information regarding respondent's role in the unlawful harm suffered by petitioner. Based on the information already available to petitioner, Mr. Wallace performed work for or alongside and was privy to plans and communications with these individuals and entities, many of which are obscured and hidden from petitioner. The critical... wow. The critical evidence relevant to petitioner's potential claims, the specifics of the conduct by Mr. Wallace in connection with his work on behalf of Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, Mr. Sarowitz, and Wayfarer, in coordination with Ms. Nathan, Tagg, and Ms. Abel, and the identities of other potential defendants, is not otherwise available to petitioner. Without this information, petitioner may be unable to pursue all claims against all liable individuals and companies. Second, the investigation may help to avoid unnecessary litigation. There is a heightened risk of inviting frivolous lawsuits in this case, where Mr. Wallace's attorney, Mr. Friedman, has repeatedly threatened to file suit against anyone who might bring claims against his clients based on the allegations in the lively complaint. Again, like, you're calling that frivolous, but that seems like a pretty legitimate reason to bring claims forward if the complaint is like not made in good faith. The lively complaint, if it was not made in good faith, I don't really see why this is such a problem or why this is, presumed to be frivolous. I mean, I guess they're saying that because of course they're going to like frame it like that, but still, just as somebody who's reading the document, I'm kind of like, well, can you do a little more math there for me and like lay it out to make it make sense to why it automatically has to be frivolous? Like, they don't really say why it's frivolous. They just say it's frivolous. This is particularly relevant in light of the likelihood that Mr. Friedman's threats to sue are backed by another retaliation defendant, Mr. Sarowitz, who previously divulged at the film's New York premiere on August 5th that he was prepared to spend $100 million to ruin the lives of Miss Lively and her family. Throughout 2024, Mr. Sarowitz, the founder and an active director of Paylocity Holding Corp., an HR and payroll company, sold a significant amount of Paylocity stock, valued at nearly $100 million, therefore allowing petitioner to make an informed decision about any future legal action through a pre-suit deposition is likely to achieve the goals of reducing or eliminating frivolous litigation and promoting judicial economy that Rule 202 is intended to achieve. For the reasons set forth above, petitioner avers that the likely benefit of allowing petitioner to take Mr. Wallace's deposition to investigate her potential claims outweighs the burden or expense of the procedure and should thus be granted. Authority for deposition. Okay. I don't think we really need to read this part. A court must order a requested deposition if it finds that the likely benefit of allowing the petitioner to take the deposition to investigate a claim outweighs the burden or expense. Prayer for relief. Pursuant to Texas Rules of Civil Procedure, petitioner requests that discovery be conducted under a Level 3 discovery control plan. Petitioner requests the court issue an order setting a date for hearing on this petition, which with at least 15 days notice, and after that hearing, issue an order, A, requiring Mr. Wallace to testify by oral deposition related to the matters described herein, and B, for all other relief at law or in equity to which petitioner may be shown to be justly entitled. Okay. Here's the verification. Here's Exhibit A. What is this? Oh, no, this was the list of demands, which we've gone over a lot. Here's the nudity rider. E-service. Okay. So, the thing that hit the docket tonight, let me go back to that really quick. And I get docket alerts for this, so that's how I get all this stuff coming up. Okay. That might be a little hard for you guys to see. Give me one sec. Okay. So this thing that hit the docket tonight, the request for issuance of summons as to Jed Wallace Street Relations, Inc. So like I said, this was significant because in the initial complaint, the initial lawsuit, Jed Wallace and Street Relations, Inc. weren't named. Then when Jed Wallace sued Blake Lively, he mentioned that although it was widely reported that he was named in the lawsuit and that Street was named in the lawsuit, they were not actually named in the lawsuit. Now she's adding them. So, you know. Or litigation diarrhea. God. Missy, thank you for the $20. Thank you, Lauren. You're the best. And can't wait for you to explain our obsession with this case in the future. Oh, I'll be working on that tonight. I'm hoping to have that scheduled for tomorrow. So it'll maybe be tomorrow morning. It might be tomorrow night. We'll see. Stacy Eilertson, thank you for the 2. I love your take on things, my hero. Oh, thank you. You're my hero. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. That's awesome. Okay. So, let me see. What do I want to do here? I try to send people over to different channels sometimes because it's nice to get people, but we don't want to bacon bot spam again, do we? So, all right, let's see. Tug can handle it. We'll send you to Tug. I'm sending you over to my friend Tug. And I will see you guys soon. I'm going to work on that video for you guys that will post tomorrow at some point. And barring anything crazy that happens for the rest of the night, you probably won't see my face again for at least 12 hours. So I know that's going to be hard. But oh, I am going to upload a little members only video, channel members only video tonight. If you're a paid member of my Patreon, you'll be able to see that. I'll upload it there. And if you're a paid member of the YouTube channel, you'll be able to see that. Also, if you join my Patreon, you can get free updates on everything. So if you join, you don't have to like pay money. It's just I gave a little extra to people who do send some support. So I appreciate that. I'll be seeing you guys soon. And please spam lots of bacons in my friend Tug's chat. All right. Bye, everybody. See ya.